Welcome back, everyone. It is the continuation of the SCL today. Exciting matchup. We saw aggro back in action there, so we're starting to look a little bit better now with their main mid laner there. And right now we're going to have a battle of the two at the top here up next. Most Wanted versus Eager, 8-0 and 8-2.
Now, even though that 2 losses from Eager did occur in the first week against Thor, they went on an 8-win streak, very similar to Most Wanted. So this is going to be a battle of the Titans, number 1 versus 2 in North America. I'm excited.
This is really exciting, yeah, because these teams also haven't faced off against each other yet. Most Wanted is definitely a surprise, sitting there undefeated right now. Soar and Eager are the teams that we expect to give them the most trouble.
And going into this matchup, it's going to be very competitive for every single lane. They're very aggressive in the solo, the hunter, the jungles, and the 3v3. So right off the bat, we're going to see some fireworks.
Yeah, we're going to be getting into picks and bans here. I still got to look at Clow as potentially being targeted out here. We took note of it, I think, the last time they faced off, where Clow relies pretty heavily on that Isis, although he did switch it up to the Raijin when that was left available to him. And honestly, Eager could just look to ban those 2 mid laners away and leave open, you know, maybe some of the more powerful picks and kind of make it everyone gets a shot. Everyone gets a shot at the OP.
You want to try to figure out the comfort level of Clow in that Isis pick now rather than later, because the land is coming up very soon. Week 4 is about to begin right around the corner. I'm sorry, this is week number 4, rather. Week number 5 is going to be coming very soon around the corner. So you want to prepare yourself for that land that's coming up. Most Wanted and Eager are in a good spot right now, as long as Sword doesn't overtake them. And
picks and bans we go. Eager are going to ban away the Raijin, and Most Wanted just take out one of the more powerful picks there, Ao Kuang. Susano Guan left open. Most Wanted could leave those available, and they are. They're actually going to take out a targeted shot at AirCougar there.
Taking away the Hu Yi. However, AirCougar is known to play gods like Chiron and the Cupid, so banning away the Hu Yi doesn't really do anything in the long run for Eager specifically. It just makes it more comfortable for Most Wanted to not have to worry about the late game hyper carry out of that character.
And I agree there, where, you know, AirCougar probably has one of the deeper god pools from the Hunter players in the SCL here. Most Wanted, though, it is going to be their first pick. They have a number of options here. It's not going to be the Isis. It is actually going to be the Athena, so taking that away from Matt Koiz.
If you think about it, the Athena sets up any mid god that you can possibly throw in there, whether it's the Zeus, the Raijin, the Giannis, it doesn't matter. The Scylla, you want to have this set up. Now, Sobek is also really good, but the difference between Game 1 and Game 2 of the last set, we saw Athena just synergize that much better for Soar.
Eager, they're going to be drafting the Cabrakan and Scylla. Cabrakan, you know, we've seen him really rise to prominence there with the introduction of Vanguard, as well as a couple buffs to him and changes after he got his passive introduced, now affecting him, so just 5% flat damage mitigation. On the other side, though, Most Wanted, they lock in that Isis and that Thor, so they're going back to their tried and true strategy that worked at the beginning of the split.
This is a very traditional 3v3 composition out of Most Wanted, dating back to probably, you know, early 2013. You want to have...
whenever these gods were released.
Basically. The setup, each and every single one of these 3 gods can set up the other beautifully, and that's very difficult for Eager to find the right angle. So Eager are more than likely going to have to wait for Most Wanted to sort of overstep and mess up in their engagements.
And we'll have to see if Eager can do just that. They've drafted the Bacchus, so they've got their Scylla, Bacchus in the core, still looking for a jungler. However, the Bracken could go there. Myflin's been known to kind of play some interesting picks here into the second phase of the ban. Susano taken out by Most Wanted. They already got the Thor, take out that top tier pick. And then Eager, they're just going to be focusing on kind of these front liners. They already took out Guan Yu, and they're going to add Tyr and Ymir to that.
Having the Bacchus and the Scylla for Eager in this position, you're trying to have as much damage as possible and burst somebody down. That somebody is more than likely going to be Isis. Now you throw in Neith Ultimate, the World Weaver on top of that. The Isis has to be really careful, and if she gets belly flopped without having purification, she's going to fall.
The one good thing is, you know, the Isis and Thor, you know, they have options to kind of escape out of that belly flop there inside their kits here. But with that Neith, I mean, that just straight purification burn are going to be very important. Also going to help that Scylla be able to lock down any kills where these people are going to be guaranteed stunned, excuse me, if they had already burned those. Hades locked in for Most Wanted. We haven't seen him in quite some time.
Not at all. And coming into the soul lane, it's going to be very important for Eager to find a way to exploit the Hades. Leaning maybe onto his blue buff at the beginning of the game would be the most obvious strategy to do. However, maybe Most Wanted are going to try to prevent that by starting their own blue in response.
I mean, this is a whole lot of pressure coming out from Most Wanted. Anhur locked in as well, pretty lane dominant, or at the very least has a high potential to get those kills in the lane. And Hades, you know, like you said, maybe outside of, you know, weakness when doing his early game buffs, I mean, lane clear might be unmatched.
Once he gets to level 2 with blue buff, you're not going to really stop him from clearing the wave. The only thing you can really do is make him use that mana, and then you'll eventually try to out-sustain him in the longer the laning phase goes.
However, Hades and Anhur, both with their leaps there. Hades is, I guess, technically a leap as well, even though he goes underground. He leaps underground. They're going to be picked up or matched up, excuse me, against an Awilix there. So some direct counters as well as the ability for that Bacchus to knock up and synergize as well.
Going to be doing a lot of early game damage with this Cabrakan Awilix combination. So it could be a potential invade. Recognizing this, Wolves is going to think about positioning a really good ward early game, making sure that he doesn't get caught out of position at level 1, because a good Bacchus belly flop into a Neith root would force the Hades to get dash at level 1, and that's going to hurt his clear. So that stutter step, just waiting for, you know, that 5-man grouping from Eager was, you know, I like that.
And yeah, he also, when he placed his wards, you could see, you know, the Most Wanted team kind of also all circling around him, that Isis and Thor. They don't want their Hades to be forced into getting his dash at level 1 if he gets picked off. So a lot of safety coming out for Most Wanted. You could see very heavy on the wards. And this has been one of the few teams that have also experimented with invades. They do have this Thor Isis for early game. Do you expect to see an invade, or I guess maybe, you know, maybe with the Hades it's probably not going to happen?
It looks like the Awilix and the Cabrakan are positioning themselves for that invade. They are not going into the jungle, but the wards coming from Most Wanted should be able to spot this. Now, it's going to be very dependent on how the counter engage occurs for Eager. They're going to have to react aggressively. Most Wanted are more than likely going to disengage, and it's up to Eager to decide what they want to do from there.
And honestly, this is going to be a complete surprise on Most Wanted's end, but they smell something going on. They're actually going to be starting out their blue buff instead. Eager here, they have an option, and it seems like the option is going to be able to contest that buff, trying to keep it active, and they actually proc it. So now it's going to be up to Most Wanted here to try and secure it. However, I think this Feather Step is going to have enough damage. Not even needed. Not
even needed, just grabbing it with the in-hand. Very risky, but does pay off. Now, Eager are in a very good position experience-wise, and Dwurst having that sustain with the mana is going to hurt the Hades a little bit moving forward.
And there's no way for Wolves to clear this. He doesn't have the ability to group those minions, get that Blight stack, and then detonate. So early game going to Eager here, pretty important, and I expect them to invade the speed off this as well.
Having the purple pot, both of these solo jungle combinations do have potions, and with Clow making an aggressive rotation towards these Fire Giant Imps, it's going to be very difficult for Most Wanted to really get any map control, with the exception of Scylla being able to pick up those left side mids on her own.
You know, honestly, that's probably not the biggest thing you would think about, but Clow securing those was so important for Most Wanted. They can't lose not only their buffs, but also the mid-heartbeat and the Fire Imp control, so now they have at least something going for them in that regard. Left-hand side, though, Transonics getting pretty poked out here, but it seems like Most Wanted still have the land advantage as Eager pushed back into the tower, but I don't suspect this will last for too long.
Now, Awilix still on the right-hand side, finishing off her speed buff. Now, after clearing the wave, going to try to set up the Cabrakan for his own blue. So it's going to have 2 blue buffs on the side of Eager. It's going to put him in a really good spot in the soul lane. And Thor could potentially try to alleviate some pressure on this Cabrakan, or he could just try to snowball with this Isis in the mid lane.
Left-hand side, poke still going on, but AirCougar trying to answer back, misses his Spirit Arrow, which means he's going to be pushed back into his tower still. He's got the Throwing Dagger, so the push is going to be fine. For the Thor Isis, though, who are so centered around that early game, I mean, getting pressured out, but actually, xCynosurex actually hits level 4 before the Awilix.
And with that, all is fine in the world. And Clow hitting level 5 with a purple pot, they're just going to be able to get the back right Harpies while they're waiting for the right opportunity. They don't want to force anything up until Thor is level 5. And I was thinking for a quick second that Eager was going to make a rotation on the left-hand side, but electing to get their back lefts in response. Normally in the soul lane, we don't see Hades picking up purple pot early on, but it's against the Cabrakan, where you're trying to stop him from using those tremors and out-sustain him with your heal. Now, granted, there is no more mana pots, but Wolves is actually going to be able to out-clear with that heal.
Pretty significantly. I mean, he's already full clearing the wave at level 4 there. I think a couple more autos needed for the melee minions. But, I mean, even with no blue buff, Wolves seems to be fine in this lane matchup. Nothing to worry about for him right now. And with 2 potions in hand, I mean, this is going to last him for some time. I mean, he's only using 2 abilities on these waves. And he's also getting the mana back from Vamp Shroud.
which is a really good, like, people don't really honestly understand just how much mana you get back from that. So that allowed him to pick up the multi-potions, recognizing that any sort of trade would go into his favor, having double heal. Now, the only problem that for the Hades is whether or not this gank early on from the Awilix Scylla will happen into that solo lane.
We haven't seen it just yet. It seems to be the 2v2 mainly, and Most Wanted, even though they love invading, they love pressuring with this Isis Thor. I think they were kind of turned off after that early game. They still have a good fight, though, especially in the mid game. Isis is definitely the best god in the game for securing those early objectives like Gold Fury.
With the Circle of Protection, not only giving you a lot of protections, but any sort of damage you take, you get instantly sustained back. So having that, especially with just the radius of that ultimate, it makes it very difficult to want to be able to engage against it.
And now Wolves here, going to be getting his blue buff this time. The Isis has rotated over, no ultimate needed for this though. And I mean, Wolves, I mean, despite not having a blue buff, not only did he sustain against Dwurst and not run out of mana, but his mana management actually seemed to be better than Dwurst overall.
Just wanting to make sure that he used his abilities in accordance to the wave, whereas Wolves was trying to find the poke, but it was kind of negated with all the sustain coming out of the Hades anyway. It was very dependent on this Awilix trying to extend that early game blue buff invade, and that's the only way you can realistically shut down the Hades, just constantly take away the blue buff. And not only just shutting down the Hades, but you have to shut down the Hades and the jungler at the same time, which is very difficult to do.
It's not easy, and xCynosurex has shown he's actually been able to recover quite nicely after that early game invade. It was only the single bit of buff XP and gold. Obviously, it's really about that pressure with your soul lane or not having it, but because Wolves recovered so nicely, that doesn't matter right now. Now, this Isis Thor, they did go double red pot, however, so did Eager's mid and jungle, but a lot of times you draft this Isis Thor to get ahead early, and right now Most Wanted, they haven't been able to get ahead early.
They have not, but they still have the synergy within their kit to still look for the plays around the corner. So as long as Most Wanted have the warding control, then they'll be able to make those plays. Nice stun coming out of Transonics, but AirCougar should be fine after using the health pot and the Unravel.
Transonics wants to fight. He's going to jump forward. The escape's already down. There's the Athena ult as well. Desert Fury being channeled, hitting almost every single bit. The Purification early here, and now it's going to be a dive under the tower. Transonics finishes him off with the last hit. And now the rotation is here. Bacchus not going to be able to stop Jellly, however, and just going to walk out.
Forcing out two ultimates on the left-hand side. Also, the shell from the Athena, worried that the tower shot and the Intoxicate would have done enough damage for maybe another rotation coming out of Eager. So not responding with a kill. Eager going to be struggling a little bit in the dual lane side as a result. However, Neith could just be very content about staying in lane forever.
Just trying to make sure the Anhur doesn't rotate right. Send over your World Weaver. It's all going to be good in the world here. And here's a gank on the right-hand side. Wolves very pushed up. He's going to get knocked up. Not pulled just yet. And now he's going to be running. Pulled straight back in, though. Well played by Myflin.
So the way you have to try to counteract a gank against a Awilix or against a Awilix as a Hades is you cannot dash away. You're going to get instantly pulled. So what you have to do is just use your ultimate and do as much damage as possible before you die. Unless you wanted to trade his ultimate for your ultimate.
I think the biggest thing there was Myflin's presence of mind, because when he got the initial knockup on the Hades, he could have pulled him back in, maybe to the edge of the tower and tried to burst him, but instead he holds it, waiting for that leap from Hades. When it comes through, right back at it, and he knows no purification online.
Get the guaranteed play. And later on, it's going to be a lot easier for Hades once he does have the blink engaged, not going to get pulled away. We'll see if the second relic. Normally, it depends, because it's against an Awilix. It's going to be very difficult to engage with your dash, obviously, since you're going to get pulled. So the safer option would be to get the blink. But you also want to try to find a way to synergize with your support in the relic department.
First kill there now online for both teams. Most Wanted have a ever so slight gold lead, and I'm talking like less than 100 here. Transonics still battling it out with AirCougar, but he's been poked. He's got a couple health potions. However, Neith has that sustain in her kit, so she'll be fine. It doesn't seem like any team really wants to try and force any early objectives or invades. It's really just been focused around the farming.
AirCougar not going to connect on the route, and Transonics just going to back off and casually farm. Sinister going to get caught, going to force the purification. I'm a monster connects, and that's going to be a kill. Clow might fall here also.
He should. He's going to get chased down. There's an Neith ult, and now Matt Koiz surrounded by 3. He's trying to get out, but he actually walks straight into the crush. Delta Marine pops it, and now Gold Fury is available for Team Eager to look for. The teleport comes in as well. It's only Transonics on this side of the map here to defend against 4. He's got his ultimate, Gold Fury 50%, but Myflin just zoning already, and Transonics, he could even lose this 1v1.
Dwurst made the rotation. Hades still sticking behind, getting zoned out in a 2v1 spot. Forcing out the Purification, even though
Nice
that didn't connect. Jellly forcing that out was really nice. So Gold Fury going into the way of Eager, controlling the game pretty well. In response, though, Wolves trying to get this Tier 1 tower. Doesn't have the in-hand damage quite yet to finish it off, though.
He did have TP, but instead electing to try and get that split push on. Felt like he wasn't going to have any impact into that Gold Fury. And you could see, I mean, with Myflin zoning, it would have been really hard for the Hades, maybe just dying himself. So Wolves just trying to outfarm and sustain for now. But Eager, with those 3 kills and that Gold Fury, now find themselves about 2,000 up. So a nice win and a nice lead for them 8 minutes in.
So it's going to be very dependent on whether or not they extend this lead by trying to invade any sort of camps. Currently, the red buff is available to invade, but against an Isis that still has her ultimate available, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, Clow there just not able to survive in that fight, and a lot of it, seriously, onto that Scylla. I mean, Delta Marine just got the kill directly, and he didn't even get the reset, and they still wiped the 3 players. If you got that reset, probably a triple kill just for the Scylla alone.
Finding the taunt before the Sentinel connects. Sinister not having the Purification gets knocked up, but Jellly is in an awkward position now, not having his belly flap, just getting the Intoxicate off, thinking that either, like, hey, if you're going to commit to me, you're going to take a lot of damage in return.
Right-hand side, though, another gank onto Wolves, but this time he's under his tower, so he's going to be fine. Athena ult's there, and there's the Neith ult across the map there. Wolves are going to get stunned, which means Dwurst should manage to get out of this one, and he will.
And just going to sustain up off of that wave. Wolves just very calmly using his ultimate right away this time around instead of using his dash. Just trying to buy some time for this Athena to make the ultimate play and just going to make it a wash. So now Wolves can still play aggressive in the 1v1 in this position at level 11. Hades definitely wins.
I mean, it's going to be so annoying playing against Most Wanted comp here. Obviously, Eager do have a lead, but it's that Isis Thor, right? One of the strongest and most, iconic 2v2 jungle mids that's ever been played in Smite. And then on top of that, you have an Athena who's going to be able to ult over to the soul lane if you try and make something happen there. Or even if you try and contest that 2v2, Athena will be in that fight.
And it's just a lot of CC on CC on CC for Most Wanted. In response, however, there's still a lot of pressure from Eager. They have the double roots coming out of the Scylla and the Neith, so late game specifically, there's a lot of damage from Eager with a crush also.
Also the ability to kind of counteract that initial aggression. We did see Jellly in that mid lane because that Scylla was probably dead there, right? You saw Thor hit the stun, hit the hammer, no Purification online for Delta Marine, and then right after that, Jellly jumps to the back line, knocks him up, and they can't chase.
Yeah, without having that defensive hammer, there was nowhere for him to go, trying to escape, but monster connecting and just got him enough down low enough to find the kill earlier on. And now with that Eager, despite giving up first blood for AirCougar, they respond with 4 kills instantly and the Gold Fury.
And the Gold Fury, yeah. I mean, the undefeated Most Wanted here. We knew this was going to be their toughest challenge. They were kind of surprised everyone with their early wins against Soar, and they haven't dropped a game since here, really centered around invading and that early aggression. But now they're on their back foot, and this is something we don't typically see Most Wanted this position. They're not in this position ever. They're normally the ones either even or ahead. So it'll be interesting to see how they decide to play this.
Still a long game to go. They have the tools available to find the place. It's going to be dependent. But Cloud not getting knocked up because the Wingo is going to use his ultimate. monster going to boost up that circular protection and should be fine.
Really nice hit from Myflin there, forcing out the Purification as well. Koiz makes it out alive under his tower, but a lot of cooldowns burned there. Isis ult as well as the Purification. I mean, 150 seconds left on that, and I would like to imagine that Eager are going to abuse Clow next time he pushes up.
Jellly more than likely going to continue to look for those belly flops, going to set up Myflin for the easy pull. Like you mentioned, that Purification is going to be down. Having that Dynasty Plate Helmet, trying to survive against the Awilix damage, however. So it's going to be interesting to see if she does get pulled, whether or not that item plus the circle protection will keep her alive.
And right now here, a lot of protection around the map. One ward did just fade, but we saw 4 in total on the left-hand side there. These hunters want to make sure any rotations happening are well known. Oh, excuse me, there was 5 wards, so there's still 4 there right now. But Eager have the sentries in some pretty critical spots.
A lot of wards coming on the side of Sinister, already placing 5, tied with Jellly currently. So Most Wanted doing a great job controlling the vision.
Yeah, outside of Clow, look at him. 0 ward. Does he think he's the Boosh? Only the Boosh can play 0 wards, Clow.
He's playing Isis. He doesn't need wards.
You do need wards. That's the problem.
You got an Athena, you got a Thor.
Okay, maybe you do have a pretty nasty counter engage.
You'll be all right.
Speaking of that, we haven't really seen the Thor ult too often. xCynosurex really not able to make any use out of that, global ultimate, especially pairing with Athena. I'm a little bit surprised that we're not seeing Most Wanted try and, abuse their globals a little bit more than they are now.
The beautiful thing about Most Wanted's comp is, even though they're down 2,000 gold currently, their composition still plays beautifully from behind. It doesn't really matter. An underlevel Thor can still do a lot of work. So can an Athena and an Isis. You still have the stuns, the silences, the taunts, and a respectable amount of damage coming out of that double tap.
But I mean, the later this game goes, when Team Eager start bulking up there, someone's gonna have to do damage, and it's got to be either this solo lane Hades or this Anhur. And I mean, really, I would say the Anhur is probably gonna have to be the core damage coming out of their squad.
Especially as long as somebody can set up the purification being down, like we just saw out of Matt Koiz. Setting up the purification being down on the AirCougar could allow aggressiveness coming out of the Anhur. So Eager going to try to force out this Gold Fury, coming up with the 13-minute mark.
Matt Koiz waiting around there. This is a 3v1 right now, and Eager are just going to drop it. Instead, they're going to be looking for kills. They do find the stun on a Koiz, but Transonics waiting around the corner going to make it hard for them. There's the taunt, the root, and the crush. And Matt Koiz, I mean, he's just pushed up by himself against 3 people with just multiple forms to CC him.
We talked about the CC setup for Eager. They had the double root combination. Just like that, there was nowhere for Matt Koiz to go. And he's going to fall. And Eager not going to try to force the Gold Fury quite yet. Instead, AirCougar is going to hold on to his ultimate, waiting for somebody to get out of position.
It really seems like they want to force it, but they may not be in the best position because they run the risk of losing it here. Wolves, come on, dude. It's one auto attack away. Look at that tower. Did he seriously not auto attack that tower? I'm actually tilted. Do you see? You can't even see the orange on the tower. I bet you it's 28 health.
He thought that maybe if he backed in that spot, the wind from his back would allow it to go down. Synergy taking a lot of damage. Neith ultimate coming out. Gonna barely not get intercepted, but it doesn't matter. He gets out alive. All his relics are still available. There's going to be a trade in the Hunter position.
Transonics there popping that Soul Eater, but here's the problem is Myflin's actually rotating under him, and there's 3 players right now surrounding Transonics. There's absolutely no way he gets out of this one. He's going to be knocked up. Burns his Purification as well. He's got to jump in a second here, but the stun's going to be good. Sanctuary popped as well, and I'm really surprised, honestly. 3v1 with no hope of rotations from his team. Burns both his relics.
There's nowhere for him to really go. In that position, when you know you're dead, at least jump away just to force out the Awilix ulti and try to allow your team to not have to worry about it for the remainder of it. Just really unfortunate. Going to have a rotation out of Matt Koiz, not connecting onto the taunt, though.
Yeah, and you could see that Most Wanted originally, it seemed like they had no plan to rotate at all, and then they decided to rotate, but a little bit too late there. And look at this, Delta Marine level 16, 3 levels above that Thor. So, look at his health right now. That's 30% life after 2 abilities in an auto.
We talked about the aggressiveness of these side lanes, and Transonics forcing a fight with AirCougar, Wolves forcing a fight with Dwurst currently, with a rotation from Myflin yet again. So just like that, capitalizing on the aggression out of Most Wanted, but not connecting with the Awilix ulti.
Oh, was that a little bit too late, or is Purification popped? I'm not sure if Wolves picked that up as his second relic. Not something you see too often. And look at that, Dwurst trying to find the ultimate, but he's silenced out under tower. There it comes. Wolves now going to dash under him, looking for the silence as well, and Myflin's going to be off the mark. Wolves still kiting around, and he's got his blink available too. Myflin going to chase him here. The Neith ult should help secure this. The heal's going to be enough to keep Wolves alive for now. Here's minions in the rotation. Myflin finally cleans up, but xCynosurex off the mark on the stun. And the Awilix somehow escapes.
With speed buff, there's no possible way for Signature to chase that unless he wants to commit with an ultimate. Meanwhile, on the Gold Fury side, 4 members from Eager trying to force this out. Matt Koiz trying to maybe find the dash taunt to set up Transonics for a possible steal with the Desert Fury. That's the only hope to steal this.
You can see the dash is charged, that big swirling circle around Athena, and she's looking to go in, but she is going to be knocked up. So her dash is now canceled. She'll have to reset it, but the problem is she's being stunned and surrounded by 4. Delta Marine, along with the Intoxicate, will pick up the kill. The 8th on the board for Eager.
And no one from Most Wanted able to try to even save the Athena. Cloud was nowhere in position. Transonics didn't want to get turned on himself, and he was playing very careful.
xCynosurex was still in right-hand side. He was still farming up instead of rotating. Now he's made the rotation. He's in the sky as well, but this might be trouble. Clow, he's already going to fall before the Thor even lands. The rotation is there from the Hades. He's got 2 locked in, but immediately he's being turned on there. The I'm a Monster, not enough to kill him, but the stun is good. Dwurst in the front line, stuns Transonics, just trying to get out. Wolves is going to be the first to fall, and Transonics trying to escape is going to be locked down. Jumps away, but he's being chased by Delta Marine. The Athena ult on top of him here, but Jellly looking for the stun.
Finds the stun, finds the root, and now Koiz is going to be in a lot of trouble as he's going to pop his sprint, just barely turning around to prevent the knock-up, taking the crush damage. Now, Aegir's overextending slightly for this tier 1 tower. Could have tried to maybe give up this Athena just to guarantee the Gold Fury, but regardless, they're able to find both, only having to worry about Thor that does not have an ultimate.
And once again, xCynosurex, he gets out, and instead of looking to back and come back into the fight, I mean, look at how low they are. Instead, he elects to go farm the right-hand side. Now there's no hope of getting there, but maybe a possibility, kind of prioritizing himself over the team.
So with that, Aegir get a very commanding lead, close to 6,000 gold, a little over 9,000 experience, coming up at the 18-minute mark, only dropping 1 kill, and that was on AirCougar at the beginning of the game due to the Athena ultimate. So ever since that point in time, Aegir have been in control of the game.
And it's just been clean, too. It hasn't been like they just play off of a big misplay for Most Wanted, or they, you know, just kind of outplay them in one little instance. It's just been like every single fight, they have the clear advantage and they just execute flawlessly.
With the rotations from Myflin, and it just seems on top of that, Most Wanted are not in the position that they need to bail people out, bail their teammates out of a sticky situation. So,
which is weird because you said they kind of have one of the better counter-engaged team comps with the Isis, Thor, and Athena core.
They just need to have better ward control to make sure that they spot the rotations from Aegir and be able to have enough time to adapt.
Wolves. That was a big minion wave. Those always feel the best. And wording-wise, you could see not many on the board. I think most of them have kind of collapsed there. 11 right now, placed by Jellly. And honestly, it's decent wards, I would say, by the core. Outside of Clow there with 2 wards, I mean, 8 and 6 by Athena and Thor. That's solid.
Sometimes
just
it's
not
all
in the key spots.
It's all about the key placement of the wards, not necessarily the quantity, as we're going to have Cloud falling at the beginning of the team fight. With that, Aegir should be able to control the tier 1 mid tower very easily, trying to get this tier 2.
xCynosurex there just barely blinking out of the way, and now it is going to be a tier 2, but Transonics looping around the top. I'm a monster! Finds the root. Good sanctuary, but it does connect onto Koiz just as he lands from the ultimate, and AirCougar's going to find the last hit. Come back here, son. Transonics pulled back in. Myflin's going to make it out of the tower, but Jellly diving deep. 3 locked in. There's the Hades ult, but I mean, it's all 5 members of Aegir surrounding Wolves. Does manage to dash away just in time, but Delta Marine wants more.
He's going to find the crush, forcing the Solar. The crush is good as well. Tier 2 tower falling. Wolves going to have to back. Going to concede this middle Phoenix, and getting this mid Phoenix at the 20-minute mark without Fire Giant is very impressive for Aegir.
Yeah, you could see, I mean, the towers on both the duo and solo side are still up. That was just kind of that domino effect where they found a kill in the mid lane, they happened to be there in the tower, they got it, then another person rotated for Most Wanted, they fell, then another fell, they're like, okay, well, now we got the tier 2. And by the time they got the tier 2, they had already wiped 4 off the board, they just walked straight in.
You know what's interesting? Had Gold Fury been up, it would have been interesting to see if Aegir would have still continued aggressing towards that middle Phoenix, or if they had gone for the Gold Fury. But their hand was forced to go into the middle Phoenix, and it worked out very effortlessly for them because of just how much area of effect damage that they had during that tier 2 tower engagement. The roots and the crushes were just so spot on coming out of Delta Marine.
And we just saw a lot of golden hand from couple of the members there. You can see the Awilix now has finished that Titan's Bane. The Rod of Tahuti going to be worked on by Scylla. Cabrakan's got a Soul Reaver online. Chin's online for the Neith. I mean, that was just probably the best back that Aegir could have asked for. They had 3 members finish core items.
And now they're up 10,000 gold. They can easily group up for this next Gold Fury, or maybe even force a Fire Giant fight at this point, honestly, especially with the mid Phoenix being down.
I mean, I'm looking at the experience different. 15,000, you could just see almost every single member 3 levels plus down. It's 4 in the mid lane here. Wolves is going to have the Athena ult, but that might have been the worst Athena ult I've ever seen. He's going to land straight down. Wolves is already dead and picked up as well.
And after those 2 easy, clean picks, Fire Giant is on the eyes of Aegir. They're going to give up their tier 1 left-hand side, but it doesn't matter if they get the Fire Giant. As long as they don't necessarily concede a Phoenix, this is fine. They might lose their tier 2, though. They're
probably going to lose the tier 2 here. And Cloud's rotating in. He's trying to steal, and at this point, being so far behind, I mean, maybe he has to. His respawn time isn't that long. He's going to pop his Sanctuary and ult, and Aegir are going to secure the Fire Giant eventually. No one's going to be able to get in there. Delta Marine actually might die, forced to pop his Sanctuary. Oh, and he still walks into the lava pit. Fire Giant, OP.
So he tried to use his Sentinel to dodge the knockup, but still gets knocked up. And now with that, Dwurst trying to find the kill. Sanctuary, beautifully done by Sinister, baiting that out. So finding the pick. Gonna lose the tier 2 on the left-hand side, but trading in response. Cloud does fall, and now Eager not responding with a tier 2 of their own, though.
That actually wasn't the worst for Most Wanted. Obviously, they lost Cloud, but he's level 16. He's going to be respawning in only 30 seconds. They get 2 towers on the left-hand side. They also took Fire Giant off of Cabrakan. Overall, they got to face a Fire Giant team, but this might be the best possible outcome for how far behind they were.
Yeah, they also, well, not necessarily they took it out, but Delta Marine not getting the Fire Giant is really important for Most Wanted. A little bit of a lucky break for Most Wanted, I would say. So with that being said, coming up to the 23-minute mark, Eager having about 8,500 gold lead with Fire Giant. They should be able to be in a good spot, having the Neith and the Awilix for the damage.
Yeah, right now, I mean, Delta Marine 7-1-8. He was level 20. He just finishes Tahuti. If he's got Fire Giant too, I mean, we already saw how much damage he was doing to Transonics in that mid lane fight. If he had it as well, I mean, he's doing so much damage. I wouldn't say that there's no hope of comeback, but Delta Marine had to have royally messed up in those fights. Now, without that FG, maybe it's a possibility.
Especially having to defend your mid lane against the fire waves from losing your mid Phoenix like 2 minutes ago, 2 to 3 minutes ago. This makes things really difficult for Most Wanted. They need to find somebody out of position from Eager, and the only way to do so is to have the whole map warded and be grouped up and find that person and just take them out right away.
And you can see there, not many wards online right now for Most Wanted. They've got a single one at the left side Harpies. They're going to see Bacchus rotating in. The red buff is going to be stolen away, or at least attempted to. Transonics doesn't want to give it up for free, but Myflin's already grabbed it.
Thor going to try to split push on the right-hand side, getting some gold back into the side of Most Wanted. If he can find that tier 2, that would be nice, but it's not going to happen until Team Eager find more towers of their own on the left.
Oh, Cabrakan's actually made the rotation. His teleport's down for 60 seconds as well. So this is actually a decent fight for Most Wanted if that Thor can make it back, but he's actually stopped. So he's not going to be able to defend this tier 2 with his team.
Cloud getting jumped on, but Wind Gust prevents the knockup. So tier 2 tower does fall on the left-hand side. Thor does stay on the right, but Dwurst is still defending. But he's going to make the rotation because his teleport is down.
And, yeah, and Thor actually still looking to split push instead of playing with his team here. The mid Phoenix should fall, and now the team's going to be grouping up on the left-hand side. Now Thor's going to make his way back. Spirit's Robe online, so he's going to be a little bit tanky here. But Most Wanted, they got to make their move now, and here it goes. 2-man top from Koiz. There's the Wind Gust, but it's not going to be enough. XCynosurex off the mark with his ult as well, and it's a full reset from Eager there. Jellly uses the Intoxicate just to push Most Wanted back, and now most of their ults are burned, and Wolves pulled back into the fight. Knocked up there. One more hit. It's only a matter of time. Myflin finds it.
5-on-4 for the left side Phoenix. Mid Phoenix did fall earlier on. Without this Thor ultimate, it's going to be very difficult to find the engage now that they need, because if the Thor goes out of position, he's going to get picked off and jumped.
I mean, he's just trying to distract right now, but at the very least, the rotation from Eager here, not exactly sure what they want to do here. There is a tier 2 left open, so they've got to pick that one up before they can go for the Phoenix, and that Thor just trying to get as much farm as he can before the end of the game.
He needs, or the way Most Wanted needs to play this engagement is to find the perfect max range Spirit Ball setup off of an Athena taunt on a target that doesn't have Purification. And looking on the side of Eager, that
Most don't.
Yeah, all their Purifications are down, so there has to be a really solid CC chain.
Oh, well, there's the taunt, but the Spirit Ball's off the mark, and Koiz is going to fall. XCynosurex hammers in, and Cougar finds the last auto attack. I'm a monster on the Titan there. It's not reset just yet. Most Wanted going to be on their last stand, most likely. All 5 members of Eager surrounding the Titan here. The Ice Assault actually doing a fair amount, and Wolves actually, this could be a wipe. Transonics picked up Jellly, and right now Most Wanted somehow are holding Cabrakan very low, trying to get out. 4 members left on Eager though, and it's not enough damage for Most Wanted. I mean, that was probably the best fight they could have asked for, but with just that Fire Giant in such a lead, it wasn't possible.
There was no possible way Most Wanted could bounce back from that early deficit. Eager just capitalizing off of their positioning. The way Myflin was rotating from side lane to side lane, like we mentioned, the aggressiveness in the 1v1s could be capitalized by either team, and Myflin was the one to capitalize on it.
Yeah, we saw him ganking Wolves multiple times. Even though they weren't all successful, still just putting pressure onto that Hades. We didn't really see him as an impact into the game. I think if I recall the damage charts correctly, the Isis Thor were on the bottom, at least near the end of the game. I saw the Scylla at like 15,000, so that early game 2v2, not able to play that early game, and we saw what happens.
There was still